Colleagues, just before I get our meeting started, we will be doing roll call vote, okay? Voice roll call vote. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call our El Centro City Council meeting to order for today, April the 4th, 2023. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Carter?
Present.
Councilmember Oliva?
Present.
Councilmember Garcia?
Present.
Councilmember Marroquin?
Present.
Sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Marroquin?
Present.
Mayor Cardenas Singh?
Present. Colleagues, at this time, I'd like to ask if we could all rise. We're going to have our Pledge of Allegiance led by Ago Gonzalez.
Ready? Begin. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
for all.
Thank you so much. Please remain standing, and if Council Member Sonia Carter can please lead us in invocation.
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you just simply saying thank you. Thank you for all that we have. Thank you for the good news that's coming. And thank you for everything that is coming forth, Lord. We just thank you for the El Centro and the environment that is here, Lord. We just thank you, thank you, thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ago Gonzalez, for helping us with the Pledge of Allegiance, and as always, Council Member Sonia Carter, for your words of power and encouragement.
Thank you.
With that, I'd like to go ahead and move us on to a report from our city attorney, please, on closed session.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no reportable action from this closed session.
All right, wonderful. At this point, then, I'll go ahead and move us on our agenda to scheduled presentations. And at this time, I'd like to call presentation for Autism Awareness Month, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council members. I greatly appreciate you, even though I'm not speaking well, greatly appreciate you inviting us to speak today in regards to autism. We've had a year. A lot of things have gone on since the last time I was up here speaking to you. We've had Temple Grandin come in and speak and use your library, where last year I was begging to use your library to break it in. We've had multiple events come up already, including our pool party just this last Saturday. The mayor was able to unofficially do the proclamation at our pool party. Thank you very much, Martha. We also were able to, last night, go to a very excellent Padres Autism Acceptance game. The Padres, to the chagrin of the Arizona Diamondbacks, walked them off with a ninth inning back-to-back home run to tie the game and then take the lead. It was a great game, and we wish, Martha, you missed out on a great game.
I know. The weather didn't allow itself, but I was there in heart and spirit.
We
That
know,
I know for
we
sure.
know, we know. Having said that, Mayor,
Yes?
you have been voluntold.
Uh-oh. That came with a smirk.
So we have our upcoming Autism Fair, second annual.
Very nice.
Okay, you ready for it?
I'm ready for it.
You have been voluntold for our dunk tank. One of a few that have been voluntold to participate in our dunk tank.
This takes a lot of work. I'm just
I was just going to...
This takes a lot of work too. So, having said that, we have our second annual Autism Fair at Eager Park and Imperial. The mayor has graciously accepted to be voluntold as one of the participants. Obviously, this was planned to go back and forth, but this is one of our events that we have throughout the year. This is the second annual, and we invite everybody to come out. It's at Eager Park and Imperial from 12 to 5. music, games, fun. If you guys weren't able to participate last year, please come out. The way I like to present it is, it's like the children's fair, designed for special needs. And obviously not without it's not as big, but it's equally as nice. And we ask you to come out. And if you're not in Martha's good graces right now, or Martha's not in your good graces, she'll be in the dunk tank. So, now's your opportunity. Having said that, we thank the city of El Centro for everything that they've done for the autistic community. For 2022, 2023, you guys have gone above and beyond. And I mean, there's not much that we can say other than, Ago, come up here. As always, he's got the big words.
Thank you.
Aww.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And James, I have a proclamation here on behalf of the City of El Centro proclamation, Autism Awareness Month, April 2023, and World Autism Awareness Day, April the 2nd, 2023. Autism is a developmental condition affecting the person's ability to interact, communicate, and progress. Has not one, but many subtitles. It emphasizes the need for public awareness to promote acceptance, and autism spectrum disorder is a reality that affects millions of families every day, and more children are being diagnosed, resulting in rates as high as 1 in 44 children nationwide. The Autism Society deeply understands the need to foster awareness and to ignite change and a healthier lifestyle through improved opportunities for people with autism. In April, let's join together to celebrate and support the people on the autism spectrum and their families. Let's recommit to helping them reach their full potential and to enjoy fulfilling lives. And whereas the mayor and the city council members proudly support and celebrate the work of advocates, professionals, and all who work to build a brighter tomorrow alongside with autism. Now, therefore, I, Martha Cárdenas Singh, Mayor of the City of El Centro, State of California, do hereby proclaim April 2023 as Autism Awareness Month and April 2nd, 2023 as World Autism Awareness Day in the City of El Centro. So, James, on behalf of myself and our council, if we could please invite yourself and your board and all those wonderful people in the audience to please accept this on behalf of the City of El Centro.
Gloria wanted to say something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you. I did submit for that request, and I am happy that it is, being moved forward and that El Centro is honoring, as every other year,
Wonderful.
our families.
Wonderful. So please, if I could have the group come up and accept it. And Emilio should be coming out here shortly. So, on behalf of myself and our colleagues, we thank you. Colleagues, if we could please stand up and take a group picture. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your great work. Gloria, thank you for your great work. James, thank you. Thank you for your great work.
You're terrifying.
Okay, thank you.
You got it?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Acceptance in spirit.
And thank you.
All right, wonderful. colleagues, is there anything you'd like to add, or can we go ahead and move on to the agenda? All right. With that, then I'll move on to presentation number 2, Imperial Valley Economic Development Corporation's annual report. Mr. Kelly, how are you?
Madam Mayor, distinguished council, it's great to see you. I have a quick presentation. I do have 2 handouts that I would like to present for you to share. And you have my presentation, I believe. And I'll go ahead and begin. First of all, I just want to acknowledge Autism Awareness Month, and we are currently working with an organization called Options for All, which helps autistic individuals be able to find a place in the workforce. There's also, I do sit on the Workforce Development Board, and it's one of the things that we're promoting at IVDC to make sure that all individuals have an opportunity to provide assistance in our society. And so
Thank you,
I think
Mr.
it's
Kelly, for
very
providing-
appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you for providing those services. I appreciate it. All right.
So I just want to remind you, Imperial Valley Economic Development Corporation is a 501c6. We're made up of members. Our funding comes from our membership, which El Centro is a member of, and that represents about 1/3 of our investors. In addition to that, we have several grants that we administer, and we also have fee-for-service, and we also have many programs such as the Economic Summit and our Energy Summit, which I'll be talking about later, which provide funding so that we can go out and return that money back to our communities in the form of marketing throughout the nation. As a matter of fact, I just got back from San Antonio, Texas for the Site Selector Guild. I was met by an individual that I've known for many years out of Berlin, Germany, and his comment to me was like, "Tim, we're hearing about Imperial Valley. You guys are doing a great job. You're still under the radar screen, but we hear about what's happening, and you're one of our best-kept secrets because if we're successful, then they are successful." In addition to that, I just want to comment about what our process is in Site Selective. So we're actually out there marketing the Imperial Valley, and we bring projects to the Imperial Valley. We then help companies with site selection, incentive packaging, due diligence, land acquisition, permitting assistance, workforce development, and then we help those companies get under construction. Our top industry clusters: agriculture, logistics, biofuels, manufacturing, data centers, recycling, renewables, and food processing. Each one of these industry clusters, which we identified several years ago, we're actively involved in and have many projects coming to the Imperial Valley. I just want to highlight a few of the projects that are, and before I begin, I just want to let you know that on average, we would see about $1 billion to $1.5 billion of investment into the region. And that's a pretty large number for a community our size. But what we're seeing today is close to about $40 billion of investment that's looking at the Imperial County. Many of those projects, if you want to ask questions, I'll be glad to answer those. Many of those projects are coming to fruition. But I want to focus on a few projects that are in the city of El Centro. First of all, Rogar Manufacturing is a company that's been here for several years. We've worked with them throughout the years, and that company has grown. They needed to be able to get additional contracts. So we actually helped them with the ISO 9000, which helped them to stay in business, retain their workforce, and get additional contracts. So the city of El Centro worked with us by providing opportunities to increase their parking so they can have more employees in their facility, and we're continually looking for more space that they can move into. Valley Premier Storage was our project of the year in 2019. We helped with the site selection. We also helped with the funding for that project, and they employ more than a dozen people. And many office companies actually use the Premier Storage as an office. We have one that is meeting with us on Thursday that we may be moving in there, and so we're excited about that because I've been working with that project for 10 years. So hopefully we'll get that project done. And then in addition to that, Ventura transferred $20 million of investment to the city of El Centro, but in addition to that, the jobs it's created has been in the dozens, but also the ancillary jobs that have been created. Bow Medical Centers, we've been working with them for several years. You can see we helped them with $15 million of financing. Just one of the projects they have in the Imperial County. This one in particular is in El Centro. And then I just want to bring up the business and community resources that we started and assist in the Imperial Valley, the Imperial Regional Alliance, which oversees the Imperial Valley Business Resource Center. And many companies come to us seeking technical assistance, financing, and we've been very successful in doing that. But some of the referrals that we refer to is for business attraction, expansion, and retention. We help those companies, business financing. We've been really promoting our local banks here in the Imperial County. Home financing, we actually run a USDA 502 program. Even though that program doesn't qualify for El Centro or Calexico, many of the employees and people that work in El Centro can benefit from that. Our interest rates today are 3.5 and can be subsidized down to 1%. And so we want to promote that program. And then, of course, the Industry Resources, CMTC, which we provide free service to manufacturers. Many of those have been in El Centro. And Clean Tech San Diego, which we have the Southern California Renewable Energy Innovation Network, which provides technical assistance and startup funding for those companies. And then, of course, workforce development. We have many programs for internships. I just want to point out Angel Hernandez, who works for the City of El Centro, was an intern at IVDC. And I got to say that he was a great intern, but has gone on to greater things. But in addition to that, I learned the success of working in chaos. And so I think he's doing a great job here, and we enjoy working with him here at the City of El Centro. And then we have a business loan program. We actually have three loans that we've given to businesses. Two of those businesses were referred to by the City of El Centro. So the City of El Centro has a business loan program, and they had gone through the process with these companies but ran out of funding, and luckily we have funding available. So we've done over $550,000 in the last couple of years of financing businesses. Actually, three of those were in the City of El Centro, La Fonda and Cargo Logistics, and the third one is Ricochet, that is here in El Centro. And so each one of those received a sizable loan, which helped them not only to stay in business, but to expand their businesses. And so we're really happy about that. I want to touch on the Southern Border Broadband Consortium. Broadband is a major issue. It's really, when we started this initiative, it was really hard to get traction. The state of California, SCAG, ICTC, others questioned why we're doing this. Now it's been really elevated to the top. And there's a lot of things we're doing, but in the Broadband Consortium, we're really addressing the underserved and non-served communities in our county. And believe it or not, there's people in El Centro that do not have adequate broadband. And so we're trying to address that need. We're trying to close the digital divide. And so we've done that by addressing the community needs, strategic planning, and regional collaboration. The Get Connected California is a program, ACP, and that, if you think about that, it's be able to provide low or no-cost internet to people in our communities. So if you think about somebody that may be paying $75 or even $100 for internet in Imperial County, can reduce that down to $15 a month or less, that money goes back in their pocket, they can reinvest in their community. And so the goals are 90% of enrolled and eligible households. Imperial County is leading the state, 70%, and number 2 is far behind us. So we got to, I don't know what we're doing right, but we're doing it, and we're going to continue on until we reach that 90%. We've had events in Calipatria and Heber, Imperial, Calipatria and Heber, and talking to ICTC, what they would like help with the City of El Centro is promoting that program for ACP. In addition to that, is having look at the bus terminals to be able to provide information so people could qualify. We've done some outreach events with the farm workers, and I think that because of that is how we've reached that 70%, but we're not stopping there. The Digital Equity Coalition is another program we're involved in, and so it's, digital equity for all. And I want to key on the equity because we really think that broadband has become a human right in our society. If you don't have broadband, you can't do financing, you can't do homework, you can't do other things. So those that don't have broadband, they call it the homework gap. Those are furthest away from the schools. ICTC is doing a great job. We need to take it even further. But those are furthest away from the schools and the libraries are tending to get the lowest grades. And so we want to address that issue by providing low cost and broadband to areas in our community. And I did pass out the best practices checklist, and this is really for local government to look at and see how are we providing adequate broadband for our community. And so take a look at that. It's something that we look at on a regular basis. By the way, there is a program with San Diego Association of Governments, and that program is going to be looking at ways that we can improve the infrastructure and the permitting in the local cities, county government, even the utilities, to make it easier for broadband. And so that's part of that program. You can see that the Southern Border Broadband Coalition, which we run for San Diego and Imperial County, is part of that coalition. In addition to that, the Digital Equity Bill of Rights, as I mentioned, and there's that checklist that I just mentioned also. Some events that are coming up for that we just recently had was the USDA State Director visited the Imperial County, and we are marketing two programs, the Value-Added Producer Grant and also the REAP, Renewable Energy for America, and that's for small businesses. And we had several people throughout the county attend. It was held at the Ag Resource Center, and we have several applications going through. And so it's great to have the state director here. She definitely is taking notice of the Imperial County and programs that we can provide. Upcoming events that are going on, we have the Broadband for All Dignity, Equity, and BEAD Planning Workshop. And I just want to say BEAD, B without E is bad, and E stands for equity. And that's going to be a program that we're going to hold that's going to be launching this digital equity program throughout the United States. It's going to be April 21st at the San Diego Central Library. We'll be seeking your assistance and participation in that. We're expecting about 200 people, as many as we can from the Imperial Valley. We'll be providing stipends for those that can travel. We are holding an Energy Summit June 15th, and that summit is going to be a prelude to the California Economic Summit, which is a major coup for our region. It's going to be focused on the Coachella and Imperial Valley. It's going to be held in Imperial Wells, but we'll be holding events prior to that and a couple days before here in the Imperial County. So we hope that you will think about that and consider it. I talked to Mr. Oliva about that, and there will be government participation. We usually have some really good participation by state government. This is really a time to communicate these ideas and the challenges that we have in our region and take that up the legislative command. So I mentioned the broadband for all, and the invitation I handed out earlier. And these are our partners, SANDAG, IVDC, ICTC, and Southern Border Broadband Consortium. And that's it. As you can see, we have several projects we've been successful with in El Centro. It's not to mention the entire county. Remember that we work on a regional economic development. If a project happens here in El Centro, it benefits the entire county. Project happens in the Lithium Valley, which is a lot of talk about, it definitely benefits everybody in the Imperial County. That's our strategy. It's working, and we hope we have your support in the future, as we always have. El Centro has its name as the county seat, and when I travel places, then they ask me where I'm from, and I say I'm from the Imperial Valley. Our county seat is El Centro, and they go, we've heard of that place. We want to go there. We've been really successful in bringing people to the Imperial Valley to learn about our region, and we want to continue to do that. So thank you very much. I hope you have some questions for me.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. As I turn to my colleagues, any questions, comments, or feedback?
No, I was just wondering, Mr. Kelly, some of the internet places where you've provided service, some of the outlying areas, you mentioned Heber, and I can't remember what the other places, but any plans to reach out to Sealy?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Actually, our focus is on the underserved and non-served communities. And so Ocotillo, Sealy, Heber, Bombay Beach, Salton City, Winter Haven, and Palo Verde are all areas. And so the internet service providers, and the challenge we have is there's a lot of, there are billions of dollars. That's why this BEAD is important, because the BEAD is going to identify where our needs are. And there's $40 billion coming from the federal government specifically for this program. We need to give our input of where that's needed. And so yes, Sealy is definitely important to us. The internet service providers are very important in this process. And so the legacy providers, which in our case is mainly AT&T services a certain area, Charter services an area, Frontier services another area. Frontier is mainly in Salton City and North Shore and Winter Haven. And so we're working with them there. AT&T, we're working throughout the county, and Charter, of course, everywhere. We're not agnostic to how they get service, whether it's through the internet or through cable, but you got to have fiber in order to make that happen. And so the state has identified in Caltrans, there's a huge coalition that's going on, and you're going to hear a lot more about it. But with Caltrans, we're using their corridors. We want El Centro to adopt the dig once policy. Every time a project comes in the Planning Commission, they want to make sure that whether it's a natural gas or IID or internet, doesn't matter, that once you dig the trench, let's make sure we take everything in consideration, and we're able to move those projects forward.
Thank you.
And I want to also say that ICTC is doing a fantastic job throughout the state, and especially here in Imperial County, but they can only take it so far. And so we're not allowed to duplicate, but we work with them and to hopefully take it a step further.
Mr. Kelly, thank you so much. I'm just so impressed with it, with the entire presentation, but specifically in regards to our digital broadband. I really appreciate the hard work. 90% is what I read, and I know that that takes a lot of work to get
Yes.
to that point.
But-
So understanding, I think the pandemic just really put it on the radar. And to be honest with you, I commend you on the great work to making sure that we have access and that all have access to broadband. Thank you so
Remember,
much.
BEAD without E is bad. So, thank you very much. Thank you, all of you.
All right. Moving us along to presentation number 3 on behalf of the Imperial Valley Small Business Development Center's annual report.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Council. I did not have a chance to provide you with the PowerPoint, but I do have some handouts for you. And apologize for them being double-sided. I noticed that after I had left the office to go and do my hair, and you can see that I failed to do either of that.
Well, let me tell you, Ms. Rosales, the good thing is that we are saving trees. That's what matters. So we'll just flip the pages.
So first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Viridiana Rosales, and I'm the acting interim manager for the Small Business Development Center located here in the Imperial Valley. We are currently hosted by the Imperial County, more specifically under the Economic Workforce Development Office. If you go to the back of the first page, you will see a little bit about our center. We are focused on providing information and empowerment to small business in the Imperial Valley. We make up 9 centers throughout our network. 8 of them are in the area of San Diego, and we are currently the only center here in the Imperial Valley that is SBDC, and provide training in different areas. Moving along to the third page, I have added some of the topics of training that we provide. We provide these trainings through one-on-one counseling, either meeting with our advisors, or we do workshops and training events for our community. We focus on the area of access to capital, lending, guidance through QuickBooks and accounting, business plan writing, business structures, business buying and selling your business, cybersecurity, digital marketing, e-commerce, which is a big boom here in the Imperial Valley, especially after COVID. We've seen a great number of people interested in starting their business through an e-commerce platform. We help with finance analysis, franchising, go-to-market strategies, government contracting, human resource, and sales and customer service trainings. We like to involve our community throughout these projects in order to get their participation. So for example, when we hosted our training here in the City of El Centro for how to start your food truck, which was a great success and participation through our community, we were able to collaborate with the Imperial County Health Department in order to provide precise training and information to our community members. When we did our How to Start Your Daycare, we were able to combine our efforts with the ICOE and again provide detailed and specific information to our participants. Moving on to the next slide, titled Impacting in El Centro. I wanted to highlight some of the numbers that we have for you guys, specifically pertaining to the city of El Centro. In 2022, we were able to assist 129 clients specifically from the city of El Centro who sat one-on-one, face-to-face with one of our advisors to talk about their business, whether it's starting up or expanding their business. We were able to serve over 100 of those in training and attendings, and some of these are just the ones that are registered. Sometimes we have people just do a walk-in, and we welcome those as well. So far in 2023, we've been able to sit down again one-on-one with individuals to provide one-on-one counseling and mentorship, and over 32 who attended our trainings so far. In the past 5 years, we've served 433, and in total, registered clients who have an address or business here in the city of El Centro surpasses the 2,000. Moving on to the next page. Our downtown and Main Street highlight. We are very proud of some of our business owners here in the downtown area. We thank the city of El Centro for the importance that they have shown to revitalize the downtown area. And so I just wanted to make mention of some of those businesses that are here located in El Centro. Adjacent to this information, you will find a picture of one of our very proud business owners who is also your neighbor. Her name is Elva Valdez, and along with her partner, she opened up Jules gift shops and more. Ms. Valdez came to us with a dream and nothing else. And I am very proud to say that with the assistance that SBDC has provided, she is now a proud business owner here in the area in Main Street. Along with her, you will see a list of other businesses that we have worked with just recently. We didn't list every single business, but these are businesses that have either come to our trainings or attended one-on-one counseling or has received financial compensation, grant, loan, whatever it is, through our SBDC office. If you go on to the next page, which is the El Centro Economic Impact, I wanted to make sure that, again, I highlighted the specific impact that SBDC Imperial Valley placed in the city of El Centro. You will see a detailed list of businesses who have received, these are not just counseling, but an actual funding through our assistance, whether it's been finalizing their EIDL or through our state grants, which was the California Dream Grant, which was very successful last year. You will see that we have surpassed over $1 million that have been injected directly to businesses in the city of El Centro. In the last column, you will see Imperial County Micro Grant COVID-19. This is a grant that with the help of the Imperial County, we've been able to assist local business owners. We are currently accepting applications for round 2. But in the first round, and if you follow us in social media, you might have seen a little video of some of our very happy business owners. On our first round, we were able to assist and fund a total of 6 different businesses in the city of El Centro, totaling $15,000. So far, I believe we have 8 in this new round that are from the city of El Centro, so we will continue to make that impact. And lastly, it will be my page that's titled Called for Action. I believe in the power of collaboration, and I believe that we are stronger when we work together. And for that reason, I am seeking the assistance of the city of El Centro in empowering our small business owner community. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and we want to make sure that we empower them and help them thrive in this dream that they have ventured out to do. For that reason, I would like for the city of El Centro to allow us to share the information on our trainings and events so you guys can share them with your business owners and your social media platforms. I would also like to be able to share information regarding our center. It's something that I had spoken to Ms. Stacy Mendoza and Ms. Adriana from the economic department about sharing some flyers or maybe some business cards in their departments. Because we're in the middle of moving offices, I have not been able to do so, but as soon as we have our new address and information, I would like the opportunity to have those flyers up, whether it's in the City Hall or the Economic Development Office for the City of El Centro, to make people aware of the services that they can receive through the SBDC. SBDC has been referred as America's best kept secret, and it is our mission here at the Imperial Valley office to change that. We want to make sure that we are accessible and available to all of our business owners throughout our community, and more specifically here in the city of El Centro. thank you again for your time. My contact information is in the last page. We are looking forward to our new location. We'll be just across the street from City Hall here in El Centro, and we're excited to continue the collaboration that we now have. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any questions for Ms. Rosales or feedback?
I don't have a question necessarily, Madam Mayor, but I do want to say that if you go to page 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yes, I see.
just
you,
might
Dawn.
see a
Oh, my
picture
goodness.
with a great,
Of a handsome, yes,
no, I was going to say
of a
with a lot of
handsome guest.
potential business owners that have completed this program. And I have to say, after having spoken to many of them, it's very inspiring to have a system and coursework from SBDC that is able to facilitate an entrepreneur into understanding how to develop a business plan, how to project financially, to understand that every business owner, if done right, like, you don't necessarily make a profit in the first couple of years. You'll be lucky if you do, but they need to come with certain realities, and then there's access to capital. And so I was reminded that just several hours ago, I met a young woman who does long eyelashes at home. She's 20 years old and goes to College of the Desert. She lives out in Thermal. And she was telling me how she used to work at a bakery and she didn't like it. And so she decided to start her own business and wanted to go into beauty, and that she finds passion in making others feel good about themselves by feeling beautiful. And so I told her about SBDC, and she said, I have no idea what that is, right? So she's looking it up on her phone, and I'm sure there's one in the Coachella Valley, right?
Yes.
And so her eyes just opened up. She says, oh, we have one here. Wow, I had no idea. And I was just kind of, thankfully, I know you and I know Jesus, and I've been exposed to your coursework. And so I was able to explain to her just a little bit. She was really excited. And I really do hope that your counterparts over there are able to help her, just like you've been able to help a lot of the folks that we have here in El Centro, as shown by the pictures. And so thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, Council Oliva. And I just want to add to that, those stories are our motivation and what keeps us going. We are a very small team here at the Imperial Valley SBDC. In fact, I brought my entire team with me. Jesus, can you stand up? Jesus is our finance and marketing advisor. We see clients from all walks of lives, all with a different story, but there's something in them that they all share, and that is the passion and their desire to be self-sufficient and be business owners, and that really keeps us going. Councilman Oliva was able to refer you to that picture, and that picture is one of the many business launch academies that we have graduated. We have graduated over 280 participants through those academies that come from different walks of life and that are trying to make an impact with their business throughout our entire county. So thank you, Councilman Oliva, for your support and your words of encouragement for that graduation.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to share with you, Mayor Pro Tem and I, we co-chair the Downtown Ad Hoc Committee, and as a city, we have made a commitment to making sure that the downtown area is vibrant and that we're being good stewards to business owners. So I'm glad that we're building the bandwidth of the downtown area. I was excited to see the list of new businesses that have opened, and it takes all of us, right, to revitalize the area. And so I thank you
Please
for the
let us
great
know
work.
if we can be of any use or support.
Okay,
We would be
great.
more than happy to do so.
And the other question I get a lot is for individuals that are interested in having a food truck or how they go through that process. That has become really popular, I think, at this point. And I know when the many, many events that we have the opportunity to host, we're always looking for vendors and definitely want to be supporters of small business. So I'm glad to hear that you finished that course, and hopefully there'll be another round for individuals. in
We're
that
going to
area.
have to. We had over 60 people register for that training. A lot of interest from our community to start a food truck. Again, we're in close communication with the Environmental Health Department here at the county. They have all the rules and regulations. We provide the training, and I think we make a great team.
And I think the other thing that happens in conversations, Ms. Rosales, is there are so many individuals who have the skill and, well, not the skill, but the desire to open up a business, but just don't know how to navigate the process. I think that is for many individuals the deterrent, right, to not be able to move forward. So I like that there's this upskilling of individuals to be empowered and to learn the process so that they are set up for success. So great work that's happening.
Absolutely. That is our mission. We want to make sure that we are the bridge builder between
Yes.
those people that have a desire to have their business and then the educational part. It takes a lot to have a successful business. And like I tell our clients, our work is not done in you starting a business. Our work is done when you're successful in your business. So by providing the training and educating them on how to properly run their business, then we can help them make their business just that much more successful.
Wonderful.
How do you advertise your trainings? I have a lot of people that are interested in the food truck training, so how is that advertised?
So we do have social media accounts, and we have a newsletter that goes out once a week. We provide information on our trainings on our newsletter, and then we also post it on our social media accounts. Currently, once events started coming up again, we've been involved in many events. We just finished one last week in Salton City. We go to Calexico. We've been in El Centro. We're doing one at IVC this week. So we try to have a lot of community presence, but please feel free to share our information and stay tuned and follow us on social media.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, I just wanted to add that, I worked for the SBDC for 5 years, up until 2016, but it's been a little while. But I'm very proud to say that I helped one of the business owners that's in the downtown area, Mendy's Groom Room. I don't know if you're familiar with her. I helped her obtain the financing, and develop her business plan to open that business. And, I'm proud to say that she's still there. And it's been a while. So, but, please keep bringing and referring some of your clients into the downtown area, because I think that they would be pleasantly surprised to find spaces that are probably more affordable than in other areas of El Centro. We also wanted to share with you that we're having a downtown merchants meeting on the 20th of April. I don't know if you're aware of that.
It's already on my calendar.
Oh, good. Okay, so I'm glad to hear that you'll be there.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. We have a great desire to see downtown come to life. We actually have a business owner, Viva en Antiques. She currently owns the building that her business is in, and she's been able to remodel a lot of the spaces. And so she has some of our other business owners who lease from her there, and she's very excited about bringing business owners to the downtown area, and you have our full support for that. So I will be there. I will see you on the 20th.
Wonderful. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you
Really
very much.
appreciate it. All right, at this time, we're going to go ahead and move into public comments. This is a public meeting. If there is an item on the agenda on which you wish to be heard, you are asked to complete a blue speaker slip and submit it to the city clerk prior to starting the meeting. Persons wishing to address the council, the successor agency to the RDA, and the successor agency to housing agencies are not required to identify themselves. However, this information assists the mayor by ensuring that all persons wishing to address the council are recognized, and also assists the city clerk in preparing the city council meeting minutes. When the item is announced and your name is called by the mayor, please step to the podium, state your name for the record. Unless the mayor extends the time, there is a 3-minute time limit for each public presentation. If you wish to address the council, successor agency to the RDA, and successor housing agency concerning any other item not appearing on the agenda, you may do so during the public comment portion of the agenda. So at this time, Madam City Clerk, is there any blue speaker slips?
None, Mayor.
All right. And is there anyone virtually online?
No one.
All right. Great. We'll go ahead and move the agenda onto the consent agenda. Council members or any member of the public can pull a consent item to be considered separately at any time determined by the mayor. All right, so colleagues, I'm taking a look here for a motion. Thank you. The motion has been moved by Councilmember Edgar Garcia, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia Marquin. Please vote.
We're waiting for Councilmember Oliva.
Thank you. That's all right. We're on, we have a motion and a second, a consent agenda, and please, if we could vote. Wonderful, voted. At that time, this item is adopted, 5-0. All right, moving on to public hearings. I'm opening the public hearing for items 5, 6, and 7. Resolutions will be voted on individually. At this time, public hearing to be considered of the Planning Commission regarding the mitigated negative declaration for Dogwood and via annexation. Mr. Angel Hernandez.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and members of the Council and those attending here at the Council Chambers. The item before you is a series of items related to the Dogwood and via annexation, as we're naming it. So just to let everyone know where the property, where the site's located at, it's about 320 acres located at the southeast corner of Dogwood Avenue and Via Avenue. So this is adjacent to the northwest city borders of the city. Just to kind of orient people, the IID steam power plant is right there highlighted, so this is across Dogwood from that facility. The applicant and the property owners, which is Carl and Patricia J. Weiler Family Trust, have submitted an application to have the property annexed and pre-zone into the city of El Centro. The current zoning is under the county's A2 zoning designation, and when it comes into the city of Centro, it will be zoned as general industrial, general manufacturing uses. So tonight, we're going to have a public hearing for these three items, which is the certification of the mitigated negative declaration, approval of the change of zone, and approval of the annexation. I just want to know about the approval of annexation. That is ultimately contingent on the approval of VAFCO for that action. And on a separate action is approval of the pre-annexation agreement between the city and the property owner. Now, that's a document that the city in practice prepares between the city and the property owners of properties that are wishing to annex into the city, just stipulating some of the terms of the annexation. This one specifically is just specifies the terms of the environmental that was, the environmental review that was done for the project. So the site itself is mainly agricultural fields. You do have a drain that runs through the middle of the project and site, and there's also a wastewater pump station that the city operates. Surrounding there, you have agricultural and rural residents to the north across Via Road. To the east, you have more agricultural fields. To the south, you have industrial uses across the railroad tracks. And to the west, you have the power generation plant operated by the IID. So the first item I'd like to talk about is the mitigated negative declaration. So for the M&D, it was assumed that the full build out of the site would be a 5 million square foot manufacturing facility. The document did identify impacts to air quality, biology, geology, soils, noise, transportation, traffic. I do want to highlight some of the most notable mitigation measures that were a result of the project. Regarding noise, there was some potential impacts to those rural residential properties to our north, and to address those, there would be a reduced speed limit for Via Avenue across the site of those rural residential properties, and also the limit, basically keep any entrances into the site, if I may, a quarter mile away from the rural residential. So they would have to be somewhere in this area where I'm highlighting, or somewhere between about here and Cooley Road. And the thinking behind that is that it would reduce the impact from any type of vehicles entering the site. Noise impacts, that is. Okay. And there was a series of mitigation measures related to traffic. This is a relatively large facility that was studied under the document, and there's a series of mitigation measures relating to traffic improvements in the surrounding area, and they've been created or crafted to kind of trigger at certain points of development. So the first point of development would be the certificate of occupancy. That's basically after the first building permit is pulled and construction it concludes, and the project gets all of the final inspections. That's when they would be issued a certificate of occupancy. So there's improvements on Via Avenue. Right now it's a rather narrow 2-lane road adjacent to the site, so it had to be widened to the 2-lane arterial standards that are in our general plan. There's also improvements that are called for on East Evan Hughes and Old Highway SR 111. This is further east from the project site, and also dedicate right-of-way along Dogwood Avenue, Via Avenue, and Cooley Road. Those are roads that are identified in our general plan, but at this time we don't have the sufficient right-of-way. So that mitigation measure would allow the city to make further improvements or any kind of project to make further improvements. And the next series of triggers is the 300 square foot trigger, and that would be further improvements to Dogwood and Via Avenue intersection. At 900,000, there'd be a traffic signal at Dogwood Avenue and Commercial Avenue. That's a little bit southwest of the project site. And at 1 million, there's major improvements such as extending Cooley Road. This is the road to the east of the site. Right here, extending it to from the project site to the Atrium Road, where there's current intersection, and also further improvements to Dogwood Avenue and Via Avenue, and the Dogwood and Commercial Avenue intersections. It also calls for modification of the existing traffic signal that's at Dogwood and Main Street. That's an existing traffic signal, but there would be additional modifications to accommodate the additional volume going into there. And at the last trigger is 2 million square feet, and that would call for additional turn lanes at SR 111 and East Evan Hughes Highway, because these were just kind of identified as kind of main routes for traffic to access the site. The other entitlement that is being requested is the change of zone. We call it change of zone, but it's actually we're pre-zoning a property. So in anticipation of it being annexed into the city, it would have the MG, which is a general manufacturing zoning designation. And that zoning designation would allow for the development and manufacturing of processing, fabrication, and assembly of goods and materials. So if you could see the area to the south of the area that's highlighted in red, that's an existing MG zone property. And I'd like to also add that this is consistent with the general plan that was adopted a couple of years ago, that this zone be applied to this property. So there'll be findings. I'm not going to read every word on here, but there's 3 findings, and the first one is that the proposed zone change is in conformity with the city's general plan and other development policies of the city. As I mentioned, the general manufacturing zone designation would be consistent with the land use element, and furthermore, the project in itself furthers the land use element policy 1.13, which is in summary is to ensure that there's enough industrial zone of land in the city to take advantage of any opportunities for employment of Central residents. Number 2 is that the proposed zone change is appropriate for the affected project site with consideration given to access, size of the parcel, relationship to similar or related land uses, and other considerations deemed relevant. So during the process, we did perform environmental review, and it did look at multiple aspects. As I mentioned, we looked at in particular to the traffic impacts related to the project, and we have proposed mitigation measures that would address any potential impacts. And 3, that the proposed zone change is proper at this time and is not likely detrimental to adjacent properties or residents. And similarly, we do apply mitigation measures, and whenever there's an actual project that is proposed, we would go over that project to ensure it follows the city's development practices and such. And the other item that would be considered in the public hearing is annexation EC 122. As I mentioned, after approval of, if this project gets approved by the City Council, it would be subject to approval of the Local Agency Formation Commission, and that's pending a few items such as the Master Tax Share Agreement and Fiscal Impact Agreement between the city and the county. Right now, we're currently underway with a service area plan update that was that the contractors approved at the last City Council meeting, and something that's associated with that is another item before you, but it's not part of the public hearing, is the pre-annexation agreement between the applicant and the property owner. I did mention that briefly earlier. So a mitigated negative declaration was prepared for the project in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. We had a previous public hearing before the Planning Commission in July of last year. We didn't receive any comments or any questions or concerns from the public at that meeting. And the public hearing scheduled for today was also noticed at the paper, and also notices were sent out to surrounding property owners. So staff recommends that the City Council open the public hearing, and after allowing input from all proponents and opponents of the project, that they move forward by approving the project by taking the following actions, and that is the resolution for the mitigated negative declaration, the ordinance for the change of zone, and the resolution for the annexation. And there's also an additional resolution that won't be part of the public hearing regarding the pre-annexation agreement between the city and the county. Sorry, between the city and the property owner. I'm available for any questions. We also have some representatives from the property owner that could answer any questions as well. Thank you.
At this time, I'll go ahead and open this opportunity for public comments. Madam City Clerk, have we received any public comments, both virtually or with a blue speaker slip?
None, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll bring this back to our council members. Do you have any questions, feedback, or concerns on the items discussed? All right. Madam Sitting Clerk, then we will vote on each item individually, correct?
Correct.
All right, wonderful. So at this time, just looking to see amongst our colleagues if there is there a motion to adopt Resolution 23-24, a resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro adopting the mitigation negative declaration with mitigation monitoring and reporting program for this project. All right, and at this time, mover is Councilmember Sonia Carter. Second is Councilmember Tomas Olivas. Please vote. Great, that resolution passes 5-0. Now taking a look at resolution, to introduce ordinance number 23-25, an ordinance of the City Council.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
I'm
It's
sorry.
01.
01?
Yes, it's an ordinance.
01. Introduce ordinance number 2301, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of El Centro amending the zoning map of the City of El Centro pertaining to a change of zone 17-02. Thank you. Councilmember Edgar Garcia made the first motion. Second motion made by Councilmember Sonia Carter. Please vote. Thank you. Item is adopted 5-0. Adoption of Resolution 23-25.
25.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro approving a pre-annexation agreement for the annexation of EC 1-22, Wheeler Dogwood, and via annexation. Thank you for that. The mover is Councilmember Edgar Garcia, seconded by Mayor Marta Cárdenas Singh. Motion passes 5-0. All right, Mr. Hernandez. Item number 8, discussion of any necessary action on the pre-annexation agreement for Dogwood and via annexation.
I don't have a formal presentation specifically for that, but I can answer any questions regarding the agreement.
All right. Colleagues, questions, comments on the item? All right, so looking for a motion, please. Thank you, Councilmember Edgar Garcia, for making the motion, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia Marquin. Please vote. Thank you. Item is adopted, 5-0. All right, Mr. Angel. And item number 9. This is for item number 9? For 9? Wonderful. All right. Mr. Hernandez, consideration of the recommendation of the Planning Commission regarding conditional use permit number 21-07 for a telecommunication tower at 330 Wake Avenue.
So the item before you was previously recommended for approval by the Plan Commission. Then in September of last year, it was brought before the City Council where it wasn't approved. What happened was that there was, as I remember through my notes, there was concerns regarding the aesthetics of the project and also regarding the need of the project, specifically is how the need for cellular service at that area of the city. So I'll provide a presentation just in general, like if it was a new project. So the project is located at 330 Wake Avenue. The owner, Jesus Rubalcaba, and the applicant, Parallel Infrastructure LLC, are proposing to construct a cellular tower at this location. Just to be specific, it's this area outlined in white that's unpaved right now. The size of the project, the size of the property itself is 1.5, around 1.5 acres, but the leased area, which is that area outlined in white, is 2,500 square feet. The existing use of that property is a restaurant and parking areas for that restaurant. Surrounding the site is also other restaurants, the ATV dealership to the west, the home improvement store, and some more restaurants. So the zoning and the planned land use is general commercial, which is consistent with the project. So the project description, what's being proposed is a 65-foot monopalm cellular tower. It would have the capacity for 3 carriers. As of right now, T-Mobile would be the first carrier on the top. It would be followed by Dish, and also there would be a feature carrier at the bottom, which is to be determined. On the ground there will be a 100 by 25-foot enclosed equipment area. This is ground-mounted equipment, cabinets that are used to service the antenna, and they will be mounted on the ground. And the objective of this project is to improve T-Mobile service in the area and also to expand Dish wireless service. So the site selection, what the applicant was looking at is for a tower to be located in that area outlined in red. They looked at 5 other sites around this area, and this was the most responsive site. Other areas had, like I mentioned, unresponsive property owners, or there were utility conflicts due to water and sewer mains in the vicinity. And I just want to note that there's an existing monopalm to the west of the site, adjacent to one of the hotels, and that's only designed for single carriers, so that wouldn't have the capacity to add an additional carrier. Furthermore, in the past couple of years, there have been several cell towers that were approved and reviewed by the city in the southern part of town. They're all a mile or more from the project site. Of note is the one on Ocotillo and close to Imperial Avenue, 21-02. That's under construction and it's under operation right now. I think when this specific project was brought before you in September, it was not in operation, but now it's been final and it's in operation now. And the other one that's under construction is the one across the Imperial Valley Mall by Dogwood. So in considering the need of the site, the applicant did look at the existing cell phone towers and also looked at the proposed cell phone towers that either were under construction or just permitted to determine if there was still a need for cellular service in that site. And there's just some diagrams provided. This is just for the T-Mobile service. You can see that the area kind of circled in that yellow oval identifies the area of concern. So to the left is the signal quality without the tower, and to the right is the signal quality with the tower. And this is assuming that those other two projects are online and fully operational. So one of the key concerns was the aesthetics of the project. So it'd be designed as a 65-foot monopalm, and that's designed is to minimize the visual impact from a distance. You know, you won't be fooling anyone if you're right in front of it, like if you're at the Home Depot parking lot. But the goal is to kind of reduce the visual impact from far away. And there would, another condition would be that they're going to have to surround the equipment area with a block wall so that it's not visible to the general public. So this is a view of the monopalm from the interstate, and this is a closer view of the monopalm if you're like walking outside of Home Depot. Additional conditions of approval. I mentioned about the CUMU block wall. It won't be, originally it was supposed to be a chain link fence, but we had them change it to a block wall. We also added a condition of approval that there's going to need to be a 10-year renewal for the CUP. So after 10 years, it would go through an administrative CUP. So it would be reviewed through the administrative committee to make sure that they are meeting all the conditions that were in effect when the project first approved. And also there is a requirement that the tower is, when it will be removed if it's not in operation within 6 months. So if for some reason the tower is not being used for cell service anymore, the tower had to be demolished. An additional condition that was added on since this item was last brought before you was to install landscaping on adjacent unimproved areas. So originally, those areas outlined in that green rectangle were going to be left as dirt and unpaved, but the applicant would now be required to install landscaping, including installing another palm tree in that in this southern portion right there. So this project was reviewed under CEQA and was found to be exempt as a qualify for the infill development project exemption. We did have a public hearing before the Plan Commission on August 9th. And for this public hearing, we did notice in Ivy Press on March 24th. We sent out notices to the surrounding property owners from the site. We have not received any calls or comments or questions regarding this project. And we do have a public hearing scheduled for today. So with that, staff is recommending that the City Council open the public hearing, and after allowing input from proponents and opponents of the project, that they move forward by approving the resolution before you. I can answer any questions, and we also have Franklin Orozco, who is representing the applicant. I believe he does want to discuss some of the go into detail about the signal requirements and the quality of cell phone service in that site. So I don't know if you want to ask any questions or have him proceed.
Mr. Hernandez, I'm going to go ahead and open it with
Okay.
public comment, and at this time, I would like to go ahead and ask Mr. Franklin Orozco, please.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Franklin Orozco, here on behalf of Parallel Infrastructure. Also with me is William Castaneras with 5C Pro and the property owner, Jesus Rubalcaba. Thank you again for taking this project and reviewing before you. We have been working on this project for quite some time now. The initial application that we've submitted was back in 2018, and we've gone through several iterations. The tower was actually much taller, and it was not proposed as a monopole as it is today. You had some questions at the last time regarding the quality of the service, the cell phone service in this area, as to whether or not the two existing or proposed projects by T-Mobile would actually, suffice the coverage for that area. We have gone through and requested that information from T-Mobile, and the slides that were shown a little while ago, these basically depict the quality signal for T-Mobile, and the two sites that are circled in green are the sites that were at the time under construction. So even with those two sites, T-Mobile cannot reach that area for a few reasons. It's has to do with the height of those antennas and the direction of those antennas are pointing as well to serve the purpose and objectives for those locations. Therefore, with the proposed site, T-Mobile would be able to close that gap that they have at that intersection of the freeway and Fourth. There's also a second carrier that is going to be co-locating on this particular tower, and that's Dish Wireless. Dish Wireless is a brand new wireless provider throughout Southern California, and they currently are in development of their sites. Looks like this. This particular slide shows their propagation for that location there. And the next one. And this slide shows basically the other locations that they have acquired, and they're working towards development as well. And it does show that there is a service gap in that same location, and therefore this particular site would be an ideal location for them as well to be able to provide in-building coverage, in outdoor coverage as well for that location. As mentioned in the presentation as well, since the last time, we've worked with staff and added some additional landscape to the project, as well as enclosing the equipment area with block wall that serves, for the purpose of screening the ground equipment, as well as providing some enhancements as well within the parking area, as well as visually when you see the proposed monopalm, you will see another palm tree as well in that vantage point as you see it from the freeway, as well as from Wake Avenue. So those are some additional items that we've agreed to with the current conditions of approval, and we're happy to proceed with that. At this point, I'm available to answer any questions, as well as Will Castaneras as well.
Mr. William Castañeras, you would like to speak, or was the presentation representative of both?
Just here to answer
Okay.
any questions, obviously in favor of the project.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Questions, colleagues, that you might have?
I don't have any questions necessarily, Madam Mayor, but I just do have a comment, and that's just to share an experience. I mean, I look at the map where there is, I don't want to say a gap in service, but there's at least a not as good service. I mean, there's a color to it, which is, I'm assuming, fair, good, but not excellent, right? Mm-hmm. And I will share with you just yesterday, I'm at the mall, and I'm going to Staples, and I'm being told, you can possibly get some discounts if you download our app and check the digital or coupon or whatnot. And I just thought, oh, cool. I must have been there for 20 minutes just waiting for this thing to download and then to click the button and this and that. And I'm thinking, it's not even worth it, right? Because I needed to get back to work. And so I just find it to where, at least myself, I'm speaking from a personal experience, where we depend so much on cellular coverage, on wireless coverage to go about our lives, whether it's to benefit from a discount, whether it's to see if there are any coupons to clip and whatnot. And I have heard from a lot of our constituents that the mall area and these areas that were not so trafficked 10 years ago that now are, right? They're becoming hubs of commercial and retail spaces. We're lacking coverage. And so that is generally why you have seen me be supportive of communications towers being set up. And so when I see this essentially gap of what should be excellent for our constituents is not there, that stands out to me. So I just wanted to share with you my experience and how I would imagine that if I read this map correctly, this is in the Home Depot area, right? Home Depot and
Very close, yeah.
right. There's a hotel on that side, right? There's In-N-Out. There's a lot of traffic there from our own constituents, and so I can understand why you're choosing this location personally. Those are my only comments, ma'am.
Wonderful. Any other comments? I will share, I had some concerns with the area or this cell tower, and I see that those accommodations have been made or those recommendations have been made. I will share with you also that I had received 2 emails and 1 phone call of individuals that live there in the mobile home park area there where the Broken Spoke golf course is at, and they shared their day-to-day struggles with getting coverage. So I myself went to Panera one day and was scoring scholarships and just struggled to be able to even download the scholarship applications to be able to read them and score them. So I myself experienced the frustration of not having access, right, to being able to use the service and being able to read those scholarships. And sometimes you have to experience it to have a better understanding of the struggle of individuals in the area. So I thank you for this opportunity and for making the recommendations that we had asked in this, in what's before us this evening.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for your input on that. I think it's important to know that throughout the years, most of the people that use cell phones, used to use them on the roads. But nowadays, with COVID and all of that, a lot of people are stationary. A lot of people, as you heard in these presentations, are working from. They're entrepreneurs. They're working from home. They're working from locations, and they're using their cell phone service much more than before. And so, to be able to provide the adequate capacity for all of those, that's the purpose that you're seeing.
Right. Wonderful. All right, colleagues, at this time, then, we're going to clear the screen, Madam City Clerk. All right. Do we have any questions for Angel at this time? All right. Thank you. So here we are with resolution number 23-27, a resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro, California, approving conditional use permit 21-07 for a 65-foot telecommunication tower at 330 Wake Avenue. At this point, Councilmember Tomas Oliva is the mover. Second, Councilmember Sonia Carter, please vote. Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. All right. Moving on to new business, we have a current vacancy. The vacancy is an appointment to the Library and Community Service Board for 1 individual. It's an unscheduled vacancy. It's a non-voting member with a term ending June 30th, 2023. At this time, colleagues, I would like to recommend Armando Lopez. He's a curriculum coordinator with Imperial County Office of Education, has been a past principal at one of our elementary school district schools, and very involved and active in volunteering, both on soccer, baseball, and basketball leagues here in El Centro. So at that time, this is the recommendation I'd like to make. And with that, the mover is Councilmember Edgar Garcia, seconded by Councilmember Tomas Oliva. Please vote. Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. All right. With that said, at this time, item number 11 on the agenda, City of El Centro contracting with a lobbyist or a lobbying firm. Presentation, Councilmember Tomas Oliva.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. Colleagues, as you may have heard me in the past talk about how I think it's very important for us to have a lobbying effort that meets our needs. That is why this is before you now, essentially asking for your consideration to raise the budget for a lobbying firm that will help us for the next 2 years. As the background states, currently we are paying $9,000 a year on lobbying efforts, which, to be quite honest, there's no one in this room that would turn on their computer for $9,000 a year. And let's just be honest about that. And yet we're paying someone to keep us up to speed, up to date, to create a presence for us in Sacramento, to explain to us the legislation that could impact us, and yet no one in this room would get out of bed for $9,000 a year. I mean, if you think about it, right? I'm being as silly as possible because, to be quite honest, it's not enough, especially where we're at today, right? Where we find ourselves with needs for infrastructure, for needs with housing policies that are being pushed, with legislation in Sacramento that we are going to be weighing in on. And so with the hospital in front of us, when we ourselves have legislation that we would like to see move forward, we cannot always be in Sacramento, and so however, we do need a presence. And so I think it is extremely critical for us to consider raising the budget in order to get us to where we need to get for the next 2 years, knowing that the success of the hospital district and some of the plans that we have here, for example, I-8 extension and potential funding, pump stations, tax sharing agreements with the county and property tax and how that, housing approvals, whether or not, we're pushing forward with high dense housing, on and on and on. I'm preaching to the choir, colleagues, but again, we cannot always be in Sacramento, and so if we want to play in the majors, we need to meet that want with a level of commitment. And so what I do know is that we are sitting on some, I don't necessarily like to touch general fund, but we do have some Measure P dollars and we do have ARPA dollars that need to be committed by 2024 and spent by 2026, otherwise we have to give it back. And so it's sitting there. And so that's certainly, I think, worthy of your consideration to look into some of those funds in order for us to be honest with ourselves in terms of being capable of meeting our goals with policy that could affect our city, especially its growth. So I lay that before you all, colleagues, and I ask for any questions or comments that you may have.
I think just for clarification for myself, Ms. Chaparro, is there funding available to cover the additional request for the $125,000?
In the general fund, yes, in the general fund, yes, there is additional funding. In ARPA, we have 800,000 plus available, and in Measure P, we have around 4.6 million available.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding the budget impact?
I don't have any issue allocating the ARPA funds. but Measure P was initially proposed to the voters for infrastructure, capital improvements. So I would not be in agreement with using any Measure P money to fund lobbyists, but I have no issue with the ARPA funds. I think that in the current situation that we find ourselves in, it could be useful. So I would have no issue with that and seeing what type of firms would submit proposals as to what type of services they would provide, so we could take a look at that. So I have no issue with that instruction.
All right. Madam Mayor Pro Tem, any comments?
No, I agree with Councilmember Garcia. You know, it's just like I wouldn't want to touch Measure P, but if we haven't allocated some of the ARPA funding, then I think it would be appropriate to use for that. And something that Councilmember Oliva said, you know, this is like, we find ourselves right now with many legislative actions that are before us that we really need, I think, not only clarity for, but also to represent us. And because it's tough.
All right.
That's right, use it or lose it.
So also in this item that's before us under discussion, it is requested that the mayor and the ECRMC board president act as an ad hoc committee to identify and interview possible lobbyists to present one or more recommendations to the city council at its first meeting in May. The increased costs will be reflected in the updated budget during the remainder of this fiscal year and included in that for the next year. So I just wanted to go ahead and say that, those would be some of the conditions with that.
Correct. And Madam Mayor, if I may clarify, my motion, as you can see on your screen that I made, does include, as spelled out, of what we mentioned, that the monies and the increase in budget would come from ARPA, and what you just stated, Madam Mayor, that we would serve as an ad hoc committee, bring it back in May, and that the contract or how we move forward would be the remainder of this calendar year and the following calendar year.
All right.
I don't think we're going to be receiving a burdensome amount of lobbying firms, and since there's 5 of us serving in both capacities with the trustees and with this board, I don't know if the committee is necessary. I think we can all be apprised of the information and kind of discuss it amongst ourselves as to who would be the best fit for this type of lobbying firm. No offense to you guys doing all the extra work, but
No, I'm okay with that.
I'd like to take a look at it as well. I'm sure we'd all like to take a look at it as well.
So I would accept that friendly amendment, sir. That's certainly fine with me.
All right. So with that, we do have motion moved by Councilmember Tomas Oliva, seconded by Councilmember Sonia Carter. Please vote. Wonderful. That item is adopted, 5-0. All right. So as we move on to item number 12, we will now recess the city council meeting and adjourn as the successor agency to the redevelopment agency. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Member Carter?
Present.
Member Oliva?
Present.
Member Oliva? Member Garcia?
Present.
Co-Chairman Marroquin?
Present.
Chairman Cardenas Singh.
Present. All right. So what is before us? Ms. Adriana? Resolution accepting certain property from the former redevelopment agency. Presentation by Ms. Adriana Nava, Community Services Director.
Hello, Honorable Mayor. The item before you it's a small action, but I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce the project to some of our council members that maybe were not a part of this process, as it's been quite an extensive process. You may recall that, before we had redevelopment agencies, our redevelopment agency was very successful. And when the wind down occurred with redevelopment agencies, certain actions needed to take place. So one of the actions that was completed was a long-range property management plan that governed the disposition of the properties. Some of them we still have, and we're looking towards selling them using the Surplus Land Act as a vehicle. And also just for us to reduce the portfolio that we have of properties since the maintenance on them is quite extensive. One of the properties that we have is the site adjacent to First Responders Park, just right across the street, right behind Cardenas. It's a 5.5 acre property. And under the long-range property management plan that was adopted by the then council in 2015, that property was set aside for affordable housing. We moved forward with a request for proposals to move forward with that property and develop it. And in 2021, Chelsea Investments Corporation was, we did an exclusive negotiating agreement, and so they began the process. The property, if you look it up, the ownership is the redevelopment agency of the city of El Centro, which is an organization that no longer exists, and now we have the successor agency. So the item really before you is to deed it back to the successor agency of the city of El Centro so that we can move forward with the legal documents for that property. With that said, I just wanted to give you a little bit of context of what is being proposed there by the developer. This project is a two-phase project. The first one consists of 95 units of various bedroom types. So we have 24 one-bedrooms, 47 two-bedroom, and 24 three-bedroom. This is the elevation that was presented by Chelsea Investments. I do want to inform you that recently in conversations with Chelsea, there has been discussion about changing the elevation and changing the architectural style. Instead of a flat roof line, which we had wanted, they are considering bringing this item back and changing it to a pitch roof style in order to, what they call value engineering, reduce the cost of the project. And so that's something that would come before you. I will let you know that as staff, I really like this design and I wanted it to continue with the contemporary style that we were looking that matches all of the investment that council has made with the new library, the fire station, the park across the street. And so it's something that will likely come before you if they do make that change. Did you want to say something, Mayor? I'm sorry.
I do, and I think what I'm really concerned with is this is what's been proposed. And this
Yes.
is what we approved. And so I am uncomfortable with there being a change, and it sounds like a downgrade of what was presented to us. And so that is concerning to me as a city. We have made great investments within that area, and this is what we voted for, and this is what we approved. So I don't understand why they're looking to have this change.
Cost. But I think it is an item that will likely come before you if the change does materialize. But I want to let you know now in anticipation of that coming forward, or maybe to inform the developer, hey, consider it because this is what they had previously approved and really liked that for our community as well.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, we have our first responders park area, we have our library that is around the corner. So as a city, we have committed dollars to that area, and I'm just disheartened and concerned that they're now taking a look at changing this plan of what was approved.
Did you want to say something else, Ms. Marroquin? I saw you looking at me. Okay.
No, I'm listening.
I completely second the mayor's opinion on that. I'm not a fan of bait and switch. Please make it absolutely clear that we expect that it's comparable to what we approved if they expect for our continued approval, especially because of the investment that we've made and the investment that we've discussed in that area. And we just put a multi-million-dollar library up. We have a $2 million park across the street. We have our fire station right there. I mean, we have put a significant amount of public resource money into the development of the area. And we expect it to be met with something in kind to both beautify the area and to help with the further development of the area. So we will not accept a significant downgrade from what they sold us from. That's just a plain bait and switch, and I don't think that this council is accepting that.
Thank you.
All right.
Our meetings are recorded now, so I could just say, go back to this point of the meeting. And so adding on that, just the total, as mentioned, it's 2 phases, and so it will be broken up into 2 parcels. And just overall, it's 168 units, 2 community center buildings, an outdoor recreation and playground. They're including as well on-site, 228 space parking lot, and extensive landscaping improvements. And I do want to add that as part of the grant application that was submitted to the state, you can see this is an engineering related drawing. And so as part of that, 5.5 million will be going to offsite improvements in the area, including the extension of 12th Street. And so that will allow for another north-south roadway that we desperately need in El Centro to reduce some of the congestion that we experience along 8th Street, Imperial Avenue, La Brucherie. And so that will help us as well. And so moving forward, we do ask the packet before you includes the deed. And so the action is a resolution of the successor agency to the El Centro Redevelopment Agency, accepting 1 property from the formal redevelopment agency of the city of El Centro pursuant to the successor agency's approved long-range property management plan.
That was a tongue twister.
Read that
job.
again.
Can you do that again?
Betsy writes these things and she just watches us like, ha ha.
All right.
Just kidding.
All right, so before us, we have the mover, Council Member Edgar Garcia, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia Marroquin. Please vote. Right, there it is. All right.
I just want to say one more thing before I leave the dais, Mayor.
Yes.
Just invite the council and the community. We have 2 events coming up. One of them is on April 15th from 6 to 10 at the Aquatic Center. It's our dive-in movie night, and we're going to be showing Sing 2. And then we also have our Earth Day celebration on April 22nd at the new dog park location. And so I just want to invite everyone. We'll be posting some signage and releasing flyers probably tomorrow, but just wanted to take this opportunity to make sure we all come out. And Stacy's been working really hard on the tree planting for for April 22nd. And so we're excited about that. And again, it's a group of people coming together to create a fun event for the community. So we're excited about even the new dog park that's being built.
Are the pools going to be heated?
Was the pool going to be heated?
Yes,
We just
the
wanna
pool's
make
going to
sure.
be heated.
Okay.
SoCal gas bills are high, but our pools are still heated, so thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Nava. All right, council members, may I have a motion and a second to adjourn our successor agency meeting and reconvene as a city council
So
meeting?
moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. All right, so at this point, we are back to being our El Centro City Council. All right, legislative action. Item number 13, what is before us here is we received a request for a letter of support for Senate Bill 797 from Senator Padilla regarding the lithium extraction tax Citizens Oversight Committee. Ms. Giselle Mendoza, if you could please walk us through this request.
Of course. Good evening, Mayor Cardenas Singh, Mayor Pro Tem Marroquin, council members, and executive management. Thank you for allowing me the time to come in. I know that there has been a lot of questions and concerns in regards to Senate Bill 797 with the Lithium Tax Oversight Committee, so I'm just here to provide answers and just give a brief overview in regards to the purpose of our Senate bill with the hope of getting the letter of support from you all. Very briefly, the purpose of Senate Bill 797 is basically just creating the framework to provide an extra safeguard to Senate Bill
what is it, 125 that was originally created to go ahead and provide the structure to ensure that the tax money that is coming in from lithium is appropriated correctly within the Imperial Valley, where we have 20% of it going to the Salton Sea restoration, 80% of it being reinvested back into the Imperial County. So basically with our Senate bill, we are providing a safeguard, basically a spotlight to ensure that the funds are going to be used the way that they should be used, and basically to provide a even playing ground or an even playing field for the Imperial County residents to empower those that will be selected to be a part of the committee. I know that there were a lot of questions in regards to how that committee will be comprised. There will be 7 appointees, 3 which will come from the governor's office, 2 which will come from the Senate, and 2 which will come from the Assembly member's office. This will all be comprised of local committee members with areas of expertise within environmental justice, economic development, environmental restoration, and then vocational training. With that being said, I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Colleagues, questions? If you will, I think, just to share with you, Ms. Mendoza, I think that what I'm hearing, the concern that I'm hearing is the local committee that will take place. And I think what I'm hearing is strong advocacy to making sure that we have local community members that would be sitting on this committee. And even though they are going to be determined and appointed by the governor, if you will, that we would just want to make sure that it is locals that will be part of this.
So there will be a process for that governance structure. That governance structure hasn't been like 100% solidified. We are open to those conversations. Like I said, this is more of the framework that's building up to it. We are working on putting a round table to go ahead and sit and invite all of the stakeholders, the community, to voice out their concerns. The purpose of this, or the reason we went ahead and pushed forward with this, was because we ourselves heard a lot of concern from the community in regards to, past experiences that have happened with solar, with, plenty of other opportunities that we have been faced here in the Valley. Because we are a resource-rich community, we are prone, unfortunately, to be used and abused, right? So we want to ensure that that doesn't happen. But we are open to the discussion as to the process of putting that governance structure together. We are open to the conversations as to how the process and who those appointees will be. So those decisions have not been made. We want to work with the community. We want to hear you all, and we want to ensure that we provide the safeguard and we place the correct individuals in those positions to ensure that those funds are appropriated correctly and reinvested back into the community.
Colleagues, questions on this item? Feedback?
Well, I don't necessarily have any questions, Madam Mayor, except for some comments. And I personally I had nothing to do with this bill, by the way, just so you know. But when I read it, I really liked it, and I tell you why. At the beginning of February, I was really shocked to hear the County Board of Supervisors announce this amazing plan of how they're going to give a lot of this money back to the companies for economic development, for incentives, property tax, and all this kind of stuff. And then the last 2 slides that they showed was, and then we're going to call upon the state to pay for roads, bridges, and all this infrastructure that they need. And then the last slide was, we're going to call on the federal government to pay for blah, 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 blah. And I just thought, wait a minute. You want to give back this money to the companies and then turn around and ultimately taxpayers to be on the hook for the money that you're going to give back these companies? It makes no sense to me. And I really felt crazy. I'll be honest with you. I was trying to ask around some folks and said, Did we all just hear what just happened? They're trying to pat themselves on the shoulder for giving the money back to these companies when we have so much need here. And then on February 17th, you can see in this bill was introduced weeks after the county's announcement of essentially all the hard work that we did on a local level to ensure that these companies would pay their fair share for the billions of dollars that they're gonna make off of a commodity that we happen to have. And I think it's really unfair what the county is trying to do in giving that money back. I have spent years meeting with folks out in Nyland, Bombay Beach, Calipatria, Salton City, and these folks are honestly hurting. They complain about nosebleeds in children because of the air quality, because of the exposed playa. They talk about how they have no access to healthcare. There's no outpatient center out there for them. Right now, they're going through, if you live in Bombay Beach or you live in Nyland, guess what? Your post office went through a fire about a year ago. And it just so happens that the Postal Service didn't have insurance. I know. Who does that? So now everyone from Bombay Beach to Nyland has to go all the way to Calipatria to get their mail service. And there's no money to rebuild a building so that those folks don't have to travel that far. This body serves as a hospital board in another capacity, and we ask ourselves, isn't there funding to be able to fund a single healthcare district? There would be if the county wasn't giving that money back, quite honestly. And so this bill, I think, is extremely important, not just for us here in El Centro, but it's important to stand behind our friends in the North End, specifically in Nyland and Bombay Beach and Calipatria, who are quite honestly concerned that they are going to end up losing out on all of this money that's in their backyard, the same way that we missed out on solar. And the same way that they gave away the property tax in order to incentivize solar, and then they said, oh, we're gonna have a community benefit fund. And what happened when we went to go ask the county for community benefit dollars? They stuck us with a bill. They didn't have $200,000 for a feasibility study for the hospital, but they had $1 million for grants for businesses. I don't think that this money should fall on what the county should say, and it should really come from the community so that the community can have a seat at the table in determining where these dollars go. Where is the bang for the buck? Because it may not be the sexiest thing, but it is a critical thing. For example, being able to fund air filtration systems for the communities that live out there in Calipat Island or Salton City, right? I could tell you that there's studies right now with UCR that are collecting data to figure out how much of that exposed playa end up inside a home and inside the HVAC system. And so they're trying to develop a new technological advancement to be able to have those community members live with some level of dignity, and yet those same folks can't afford filters for the ACs. So I can go on and on, colleagues, and I just think that it is very eye-opening for the county to go around and ask every single city to oppose it, but this bill ultimately just says that the decision of where those dollars go should be up to community members and not up to the county to give back to the companies. Calipatria has supported it. Calexico has supported it. I spoke to the mayor of Imperial directly. She said she supports it enough to place it on the agenda for discussion. I know that I spoke to the mayor of Brawley, who admitted that somebody pulled a fast one on him and an opposition letter went out, and so they're going to rescind that opposition letter and debate a support letter. I know that Hopeville is going to put this on their agenda. It is no coincidence that every single city, or at least every single mayor has, minus the one that represents us here, has expressed some level of support of this bill, and the only one that wants us to oppose it is the county. So with that said, members, I would ask that we consider supporting this, or at least supporting in concept and suggesting edits that would clarify what, as mentioned in our background, which are the local communities and how those folks are selected. But to the extent that I would ask you to trust in my judgment and my time having worked in Sacramento, is to say that supporting this bill is saying that you accept it in concept and believe that it's good enough to move forward. And when there's a legislative calendar, you need the bill to move forward in order for it to still be alive, in order to submit amendments. If it doesn't move forward, it's like there's no point in even having a conversation about it. So if we still want to have this conversation as the months come forward, I think the only thing before us is to support so that we can be part of that conversation and not stay on the sidelines and have somebody else decide for us. So with that, Madam Mayor, I yield back.
Thank you. Colleague.
Well, in response to my colleague, Councilmember Oliva's comments, in theory, everything that you said, I agree with. However, from what I've been told, and I think there may be a lack of communication or understanding from what the information is getting from, what information we're getting from the county, because my understanding of the county's plan in giving these breaks to these companies is not just to give them the money, is that it's contingent on these companies not only just extracting the raw lithium from our community, which is the resource that we're going to be getting, not only extracting it, but investing in infrastructure to refine it here, creating jobs, spending more money here. And even further, not just refine it, but to create further infrastructure to make batteries here using that refined lithium, thereby creating another segment of the production line. Because these companies could very well just easily extract the raw lithium from here and transport it by rail, by freight, any different, there's many ways that they can transport it. And they can refine it somewhere else, possibly out of state, where it's cheaper. They can have battery plants out of state, which we've seen. California lost contracts with potential infrastructure for battery manufacturing plants to Nevada because of their incentivized tax structure and things of that nature. So the county's trying to keep the different layers of production here in our county, which I agree with. I think that we don't just want to lose this resource. Yes, we'll get some money from it, but we will get exponentially more if we control the production here in this county. Not just extraction, but refinement, and then the finalized product of the batteries. That's my understanding of how they would receive some of this money back in order to incentivize them building that infrastructure, because we don't have it here. We don't have these plants, we don't have refining facilities, we don't have manufacturing facilities. All of these facilities would be built in those areas in order to keep these tiered levels of production, which I agree with. I think that's the initial great plan, that not just having the resource and shipping it out somewhere else, but having it go through the motions locally, thereby creating more money, more infrastructure, and a larger footprint of exposure for this county. I think that's ultimately the goal of Lithium Valley. That's how it has been sold, and that's my understanding of why they're trying to incentivize that. If they were just giving the money to these companies and they're going to move the resource out anyway, then no, clearly I don't agree with that. But one thing that makes me pause with this bill is the fact that local community is not defined. And even in the language right here in front of us, it says that this could include Riverside County. That right there is a big concern. I don't want Riverside County to have anything to do with that. This is our resource. This is what we're using it for. How are we going to have representatives from Riverside County dictate how tax money is spent in Imperial County? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I'll tell you right now, nobody in Riverside is going to vote for us to have a say on how they spend their tax money. So why should we? The other thing that concerns me is that public member is not defined. And it could be elected officials that are appointed by the governor or the assembly or the state, senate, which, you know, I need more clarity. This needs to be tightened up a lot more before I can give it any level of support, especially with what does local community mean to them? Because Riverside does not mean local to me. And I don't think it should have anything to say with how Imperial County tax dollars are spent. So I want some more clarity from the county as to see if your interpretation is correct, or is the interpretation that I have correct? Because that clearly needs to be defined. We need to have that understanding. Why are they incentivizing these companies, and how are they going to go about doing it? Because if they're writing a blank check to these corporations, clearly I don't agree with that. I don't think anybody would. But if they're incentivizing reinvestment in infrastructure, I think that's good for the public. I think that's good for our community. And ultimately, that'll be good for their business as well. Because what we don't want to see, like I said, is our precious resource, which is the raw lithium, just to be sucked out of the ground and taken somewhere else.
So, Mr. Garcia, I understand, and again, in concept, I would say to you as well that I agree. However, what the county won't tell you is that they cannot promise that lithium will be refined and turned into batteries here, because in order to create a battery, you need lithium, you need manganese, and you need copper. We don't have copper. So if you're a business trying to, now you're going to have to figure out where the nearest copper quantity or amount or commodity is in order to ship it here in order to do that, right? Yes, it would be nice for them to refine it here, but once you give back the extraction tax money and they refine it, that's now categorized as a different tax. That's probably going to be sales tax that then goes back to the county. It's going to be jobs that is most likely those refining spaces that you're talking about are going to be located in unincorporated county. And so even less will our city be able to be benefiting from that whole plan. The county has done this before. And like I mentioned, they've done it in solar. And so that's why I don't fully believe their presentation as it yielding something, because there is no amount of money that they're going to give back that if a company that is meant to make billions of dollars is going to weigh the value of whether or not to invest going to Nevada to refine and whatnot, or to do it here. They were going to do it because they've already have those models and that analysis as to whether or not it's going to yield a return. And as far as Riverside County, I don't see Riverside County anywhere in the language.
Well, it says right here.
Where?
In the document that we were provided, under background.
Well, maybe in the background, but I don't see it anywhere in the actual language of the bill.
I believe the reason Riverside County is mentioned there is because that 20% that is allocated to the Salton Sea restoration, technically some of those areas are considered Riverside County. So there comes a point where there's areas within that section, you hit a street and it's the zip code pertains to Riverside County, which is why there may have been that brief mention. But it is, if you look at the bill language, all of it is centered towards Imperial County. Somebody else did bring that to our attention, and we are going to make that clarity just because of the zip codes that fall within the area because of the Salton Sea.
So with that said, Mr. Garcia, I would say, again, like, I agree with what you're saying, and which is why I think that if the model that the county is suggesting has such merit that it's a no-brainer, then that means this oversight committee would say so as well. because it makes that much sense. So that's the reason why I would say we could suggest it, because in concept, having a local committee oversee how these funds are spent, in concept, is a good idea. It should be that way, to ensure that these monies are not going in a direction that we did not intend. And so in concept, I think it's fair to say that our residents and our folks would be supportive of this in concept. And so support with amendments such as clarifying that the 20% related to solvency mitigation may include Riverside County, but any and all taxes related to lithium extraction, the 80% that is meant, would stay in Imperial County.
The definition,
And-
the
I'm sorry?
definitions would be helpful.
Definitions
The
would be-
definitions that Edgar mentioned. I think
Right,
they'd be-
and the definitions, for example, local communities, right? And determining what are those local communities, right? Are we talking, do they have to be from El Centro? Are they all supposed to be from North County, right? But even having that discussion, colleagues, it behooves us to be supportive in concepts so that we actually have a seat at the table to refine everything that we're talking about, as opposed to say, nah, and ignore the fact that almost every community in Imperial County has expressed some level of support of this.
Well, there's more than those issues that I have. The other issues that I have is, how long are these people going to serve on this committee? What are the checks and balances to their appointments? It's just unilateral appointments from the governor, the state senator, and the assemblyman. We have no say as to that.
So
The county supervisors are elected officials. We elect them. We have our own districts. They're charged with dealing with their tax revenue. It's like having a citizen oversight committee to tell us what to do with Measure P.
Sure.
We were elected,
But I'd be okay with that too, right?
but we were elected to deal with that tax revenue. They were elected to deal with that tax revenue. If we don't like how they do things, then we can do things politically. People can run against them. They can be voted out of office. What can you do with these appointees? There's nothing clear in there as to how that would be handled.
Yeah, we can agree to disagree on that one, Mr. Garcia.
So
I
we
mean,
have,
at a minimum, I would need to look into it more and get some more information. I would not be supporting this at this time. Not saying that I would be opposing it at this time either.
Mr. Garcia, at any given moment, if you'd like to, I can connect you with our legislative director. We have been making our rounds over the last few days, speaking to everybody, hearing out their concerns. We want to hear from you, and we want to work with everybody to ensure that we do the best job in structuring this correctly to meet everyone's concerns. You know, as we have been going around, like Councilmember Oliva mentioned, this was put in place for a reason, because we had so many people knocking on our door saying, hey, this is what's going on. These are our concerns. Due to previous decisions in the past, we are concerned about the way these monies are going to be navigated, and we want to ensure that we have a voice. We want to ensure that things are done properly. So we want to hear from everybody, and we want to hear your opinions, and we want to work with all of you to ensure that we put that governing structure in correctly. Like we mentioned, this is the framework for what we would like to see, and that is all based off of the feedback that we've gotten. And if you see, we've got about 17 bills on the floor, and they're all very heavy in the Imperial County. So the senator came in, he heard, he understands that, you know, we've gone through multiple projects that have, you know, we call them, could have been our godsend, and we continue to call this that. And we want to ensure that we do our best job to secure that this time, to ensure that this doesn't happen. Like I said, before I leave, I will give you my business card. I'll reach out. I would love to make that connection, have you speak with him. He's actually here in the Valley. If you have time later this week, voice out those concerns. That way we can start implementing all of that and ensure that we do our best job so that you can help guide us and ensure that we put this together properly.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for that opportunity.
Of course. I don't know if you guys have any other questions for me in regards to this, and I'm sorry, my eyes are so watery since yesterday. I'm not crying. It's my allergies.
are we able to table this until the language is changed, or how does this work?
Well, like I said, the bill has to go through a policy committee, it has to go through a fiscal committee, and then it has to be voted on the floor, and then it has to go through the other house. And so tabling it essentially just tells the senator, well, we don't like it right now, and you know, let us know later on in the future if you amend it. But then again, it's like, what seat at the table do we have to ask for amendments if we're not saying we accept it in concept and are asking for changes, right? Like, think about the position that you'd like to be in when wanting to be heard as far as making changes, right? And I'm just saying that based on the culture that I know that building to be in, right? And I can't help but think, colleagues, how we are being asked to support something that is taking this idea to the people. And there's gonna come a time in a few months where we're gonna ask folks to support our concept of that. And you're saying that we need you then for that one, but on this one, we're not ready, don't bother us, right?
So we deal with
No, I know, but I
a
mean,
large variety of issues.
it's a real
They're
thing.
Not connected. They're very far apart from each other just because we're using government. I mean, that's basically the umbrella that all of this is under.
Right.
They're not
right.
they're not related. You know, I don't think that it has anything to do with that. I mean, we can get more information about this, and we can bring this forward on our own and put it on our agenda to write a letter of support at any time. I'm just saying that I think, you know, we should, or at least I want more information.
No, I hear that.
So I don't think that, you know, I'm not saying I don't support it. I'm not saying I do support it. I'm saying I have some concerns, and I'd like to look into them more and possibly have discussions with Senator Padilla's office and see if I can get some more information and form my opinion. You know, it's I don't think it's unreasonable for us to ask some more information. This isn't it's in its infancy as a bill. I understand that.
If I may, so this bill already made it through its first hearing committee unanimously at the Capitol. And so the reason we are asking for those letters of support is, again, we want to continue to hear from you and work with you together as we continue to build this structure together. So if you are in favor of meriting to continue these discussions and to continue to vet and work on building this structure, I would ask for your letter of support. So I did just want to add that as well. And like I said, we're very open to conversations. We're doing our best to go around to speak to everybody, not only in regards to this bill, but everything that's going on locally to ensure that we are, relaying all the information over to the Capitol and advocating for our community.
So, Ms. Mendoza, for myself, this would then be like a bilateral oversight. Would there be this bilateral oversight where we would have the Senate bill and the County Board of Supervisors would also have input on this lithium tax? Or is it?
Correct.
Right, so it's bilateral.
Correct. It is bilateral, and the purpose of this is basically to level out the playing field. We are creating basically a state governance in order to ensure that we have the ability to go up and, give it teeth so that those that are a part of the committee can move forward. Oftentimes we see organizations, for example, sometimes where we have like the Salton Authority, and they are, governed by the California Resource Board, where they have a say, but they don't have a say, right? So we're leveling out that playing field by putting this together, putting the committee together, and this will be bilateral with the county so that there is checks and balance and there's a spotlight there to ensure that the funds are being used and committed the way that, these conversations are happening and go into those needs. Like we say, 80% of it goes back to the community, 30% of that is earmarked specifically.
20.
So out of the 80%, there's the 30% that is committed to those front-facing communities that are mostly impacted in the north end. And so we just want to ensure that everything that was placed there is going to be followed and that those monies are invested correctly.
All right, for bilateral oversight, I will second the motion. All right. Council members, at this time, the mover for a letter of support. The mover is, I'm sorry.
With
Yes.
recommendations
Sure.
of amendments. That was my motion.
Oh, yes, I'm
That's
sorry.
what I was going to ask.
I
even
apologize.
though it's,
So
yeah.
I'll go ahead and have you go ahead and identify
Oh, it was
what
the-
you're moving so that it's very clear to
Sure,
all
the
of us.
motion is to support with amendments, and that is to clarify the 20% for Salton Sea,
Riverside County.
Riverside County, and what that looks like, but anything that has to do with the remaining 80%, that it be for Imperial County only, to work on the definition of local communities. And what was the other,
Public member.
sorry, what was that?
Definition of public member.
Definition of public member, please. That is so far, and obviously, the conversation will continue.
Yeah, of course. And like I said, any questions that you have, please reach out to us. We are more than happy to connect you directly with our capital staff that is working on this, answer any questions, run through the information and what we plan to propose with it. We want to work with you all. We really, really do. And we want to ensure that our voice is being heard. Our ledge director is actually from the Imperial Valley, so he's very aware of the circumstances that we constantly face. And we're here to advocate for you all. So like I said, I will make sure to put you in contact first thing with Alexis, our ledge director, tomorrow. I know we've had some meetings, and anybody that has any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. We are more than open to entertaining those conversations, hearing you out, and then putting that plan together collectively.
All right, council members, the mover, Councilmember Tomas Oliva, seconded by Mayor Marta Cárdenas Singh. Please vote. That item passes 4-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
All right, moving on to item number 14, letter of support for AB 569. What we're looking at here is, let's see, the Office of Assemblymember Eduardo Garcia has asked for support of AB 569 Salton Sea Geothermal Resource Area, Lithium Valley Office of Development. The bill would establish the Lithium Valley Office of Development and would require the office, in consultation with relevant state agencies, to coordinate the initiatives related to funding, economic development, construction, manufacturing, technical development, and the reclamation of lithium in the Salton Sea geothermal area. Tomas, can you walk us through this? Are you comfortable walking us through this?
You know, I have a funny response to that, and that is that I don't get paid enough for that.
If we had a lobbyist.
I know if we had a lobbyist, I mean, really, right? No, and you know, going back to some of the previous conversations, you know, the need for an office to be at the forefront, and I know that this is something that the county had asked for, is to have staff specifically within the county that's dedicated to the development of Lithium Valley, to be working with the county for permitting, for, because it's, obviously lithium is very tied with geothermal, but there is a three-layered cake here, because you have geothermal that's permitted by the state, you have lithium that's permitted by the county, and then geothermal is generating energy, and so that energy is has to go on a transmission line that's permitted by IID. And so it is a very complex, how do I know this, right? You're asking yourself. I just read all day. It is a very complex thing for investors to come in and to kind of figure all this stuff out. But and so I think that what the assembly member is trying to do is make sure that that there is a dedicated office for what we all have been told to envision just a industry cluster of lithium here in Imperial County. And so this is, again, a conversation to have an office that would assist in geothermal power, and also I think to educate the public as to how this geothermal renewable energy generation and lithium recovery, as opposed to mining, because there's lithium mining, lithium extraction, and lithium recovery. The mining is when it's a dry ore, you're in a cave and you're chipping away, right? This is a recovery because you're talking about a brine that has these minerals in it, and so there's proprietary technology that would allow for you to run that brine through some chemicals and then through certain phases be able to extract manganese cake, to be able to extract the lithium. And so it is actually one of the cleanest, environmentally cleanest forms of extracting lithium than in other parts of the world, like Argentina, who have a different process, right? And so I think that the Assembly member is trying to support some of the efforts of the county in being able to have an office here, and I think that it's a good idea. And as moving forward, having this unfold would be very interesting. But I think in concept, again, it's very positive.
Wonderful. I know our interim city manager. Is there anything that you would like to add on the discussion of this item?
No, I think Councilmember Oliva actually hit most of the points that I was going to make, but it is true that in Imperial County, right, it's a byproduct that's already happening. So this is a process. The brine is used basically to cool off geothermal processes. So that is already occurring. So this is an opportunity, right, to extract from that brine that is created in the process of maintaining those geothermal wells cooled. As he mentions, right, large deposits of lithium are not readily available in the United States. The only other place that has some is Silver Peak in Nevada that has, substantial amounts, and the production there comes from hard rock, I believe, extraction. So it's different than what is happening here. So obviously, as California and the United States and the world as a whole is relying more on the use of renewable energies to build electric vehicles or personal electronics, the actual Salton Sea area, which is known as a geothermal area, also would be Lithium Valley in this case. So it does bring additional development to the area. It drives investments into infrastructure developments, which could create good paying jobs for Californians in Imperial County, support the mitigation efforts for the receding Salton Sea as well. It would be another direct effect of this, which obviously has a direct impact on air quality as well as respiratory health problems that are common among Imperial County residents. So it would be an opportunity to also improve or lower the cost of geothermal power in California, making it more competitive in the markets, and recognizing that in reality there's a huge opportunity that is coming to Imperial County through the Salton Sea geothermal resource area. And the goal would be to make sure that there are measurable impacts to the local area. And in closing, this was obviously create relevant, work with relevant state agencies to coordinate initiatives that are related to funding, economic development, construction, manufacturing, technical development, and reclamation of lithium in the Salton Sea geothermal resource area.
Wonderful. All right. Questions, comments, feedback? All right. At this time, we will be ready to put it out for vote. The mover is Councilmember Tomas Oliva, seconded Mayor Martha Cardenas Singh, approved 5-0. And interim city manager, will you be reporting on the next item as well?
Yes,
Item
I
number
also
3.
have a brief on it. So AB 5093, which is the California Workforce Development Board, Salton Sea Geothermal Resource Area Equitable Access Program. So basically, as probably most are aware, Imperial County is a disadvantaged area with high unemployment rates, some of the highest of any county in the state of California. and also 3 times higher than across the state, and that's based on figures from 2022. Additionally, the household incomes in Imperial County are pretty much close to half, right, of the median income across the state. And in Imperial County, about 18% of the population is living currently in poverty. So there's a disproportionate high percentage of adults without high school education as well in our county. This bill would establish the Equitable Access Program to prioritize employment in construction, manufacturing, some of the ones that I've already mentioned, right, in that particular area, which includes reclamation activities as well for local residents in the Salton Sea geothermal resource area. It required the board that is constituted to administering the program to provide apprenticeships and training programs locally, and would monitor the rate of residents of the Salton Sea geothermal resources area who are hired on construction projects in that particular geothermal resource area to involve that involve lithium-based technology. So I'm available if you have any questions. Additionally, this comes as a result of a Blue Ribbon Commission that provided a number of recommendations in relation to this particular project.
All right, thank you for that report. Council members, comments, feedback, questions?
So the only comment I have, Madam Mayor, is just that, as mentioned, this bill focuses a lot on the employment aspect, right? We talked about how we expect this to be a huge industry cluster. We're setting the stage for it to be easy for industries to come in and be able to permit and establish and whatnot. But the question then is, what about the workforce, right? And the workforce, what this essentially states from my analysis or my reading of it is that we want to make sure that, one, our schools have the resources that they need in order to credential or to certify local residents, but we also want to make sure that these companies hire local residents. And so that is the spirit, I think, behind this bill, and so I strongly support it in concept as well.
Wonderful. Always looking at building the pipeline within our existing community. All right. So with that, mover, Councilmember Tomas Oliva, seconded by Councilmember Edgar Garcia. Please vote. Item passes 5-0 for a letter of support. Great. At this time, we'll go ahead and move on to task force reports from our council members, please. Councilmember Carter, would you like to start?
Sure. Please forgive me that wind yesterday. Whoo, took us all for a loop, huh? We had our joint hospital board meeting. That was interesting. I'm sure our hospital board president will touch bases on that a little bit more. And then we attended our Cal City member meeting in Westmoreland. That was interesting as well. It was nice to see a lot of people, meet people, and see what other cities are doing. So it was very interesting. We had our Easter egg hunt, and that was nice. And our rush, the kids, and I really enjoyed it. You've seen a lot of comments, that were negative, but I really enjoyed the event, and I really heard a lot of positive feedback from a lot of the kids. They were excited, for one, that it was free, for two, that somebody thought about them and had an event. So it was a really nice event overall. And then we had our hospital board meeting. That was interesting as well. We did come to some terms. I'm sure our president's going to talk about that as well. And then the Children's Fair, lastly. We just attended that as well. Very nice event. A lot of entertainment, a lot of booths, a lot of our community. Very, very, very nice. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Councilmember Oliva, would you
Oh,
like to
yes.
report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So since our last meeting, colleagues, as mentioned, we did have a joint meeting of the hospital districts or the hospital entities. So Heffernan, Pioneers, El Centro Regional Medical Center. We were all present. I think there was only one absence from Pioneers Memorial Healthcare District. But essentially what we did was we presented each other with our financials, and we went over and combed through what our current situations were. Most of it was in closed session, so I can't get into the details of it. But we walked out of there with a consensus, right? What we're supporting, what we would still like to continue having conversations about. And so there will be some announcements that come in very soon, I think within the next week, as far as the leadership team for the hospital. And so there really are a lot of things that are going to be turning around. And I think that you're going to see that because, you know, the misinformation that was floating around related to the hospital was really creating a lot of headaches and unintended consequences that this council, with the leadership of our mayor, has been able to turn around and make sure that we're now headed back in the right direction, that things such as the police station is now back on track in terms of a conversation, right? So we're now hiring you know, folks within ECRMC to head us in the right direction. So again, it's quite honestly very relieving to see where we're going, and I think that I'm getting more sleep, colleagues. So I appreciate the support in getting us. I have seen less white hairs on my head in the last couple weeks, and so I thank you for the support on that. As mentioned, the Easter egg hunt was very interesting. Gustavo, I think you had a lot better setup this year than last year, certainly. And for all the team, I know the fire department was there. We had Battalion Chief Chapin there with some folks helping us out. And so it was a team effort. But even then, the folks still found a way to just kind of make sure that we took plenty of notes to make sure that next year is that much better, right?
To improve.
Right. And so I thank you again, though, for your team. I think Adriana took off, but Gus, if you could take the kudos back to the team for everything, please. I unfortunately had to leave early to attend a meeting or an event in Brawley, which was nice. I did get to sit down with the dean of San Diego State University to just, you know, start that relationship, to understand what they are doing to promote the nursing programs within San Diego State and wanting to expand cohort ability for masters in nursing here in Imperial County. I also want to highlight that we did have Vietnam Veterans Day event at Buckland Park. I believe the mayor will touch on a little bit. I arrived late. I apologize to my colleagues. I was busy in an appropriations meeting, but from what I saw, the event was well attended, and as you know, many of our veterans in our communities really appreciate us being there to support them, and so I'm glad that the city was able to do that on their behalf. Let's see, we have additional meetings with the hospital later this week, and I just want to take this opportunity, colleagues, and to the residents, happy Easter, Good Friday, and I hope you enjoy time with your families. Madam Mayor, I yield back.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Edgar Garcia.
Okay, well, like my colleague said, we had the joint meeting with Heffernan and Pioneer. That was, it was definitely an event.
To say the least.
I think it was educational, and once we expressed our ideas, I think we kind of left there making some strides in our communication. Hopefully, it keeps up, because ultimately we're all on the same team and trying to secure that we have a strong healthcare system in this county moving forward. I think that's what everybody ultimately is working for, and we just need to, you know, work out the pieces. It's hard enough doing that with 5, but when you're dealing with 2 other boards, you know, there's a lot of communication that needs to happen in order to reach the common goal and work for the common good. So, but that was great, and we're continuing to to work at the hospital with our board meetings, and that's taken up some of the time. Not as much as it was, but we're still diligently working, and I think we're doing a good job of moving forward. I attended the League of California Cities general meeting that we had for the county. I think that was a good meeting. I gave an update as to the California initiatives that the League of Cities is focusing on as the Imperial County District Director. I had the honor of giving that update to the elected officials and agency partners in the room. I think we have a lot of different things that have been going on that the League of California Cities is opposed to, and some of it has even reached our dais. I know that we did a letter of opposition to a few things in league with what the California League of Cities was recommending, specifically as to the tax initiative that was being proposed, and other measures of local control that we had agreed to support the League of California Cities. I will be attending the Legislative Day Conference in Sacramento, starting on April 12th through the 15th, and I'll be having a Board of Directors meeting for the League of California Cities, so I'm looking forward to that, in further discussing these issues with the Board of Directors and bringing that information back to my colleagues so we can further discuss how the League is advocating on behalf of all of its city partners in California. And I also attended the event in Brawley where I saw my colleague, Tomas. I think it was a good event. It's a Dove's event for charity. They give scholarships to kids, and it's a very well-attended event. Saw a lot of familiar faces, people getting together to have a good time in the name of charity, but they did raise a significant amount of money, is my understanding, is that they did raise a significant amount of money during their silent auction, which is going to be directly transmitted to the children of the community. They don't just give scholarships to kids in Brawley, but they do spread it out throughout the county, so I've always supported them and will continue to do so. But other than that, just been dealing with our city business here. We have not had any task force meetings lately. I think, Tomas, it may be time for us to put on the public safety hat and have a task force meeting regarding public safety, get an update from our chief as to how things are going and how best we can act to support our first responders in any way that we can. I think we should definitely get an update regarding that, so we should talk about scheduling something like that. It's been some time. And with that, I yield the floor.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, as the rest of my colleagues have already shared, we were all at all of the same events, but I do have to say that the division meeting of the League of California Cities, I was really impressed at the turnout of all of our elected officials throughout the Imperial County, as well as agency leadership. It's nice to see all the camaraderie between the cities, as well as the jabs that we give each other. But at the end of the meeting, each city highlighted all of the events, and I have to say that I think the city of El Centro outdid most of them. Imperial was right up there with us, so, but kudos to Parks and Recreation for all of those events that we highlighted during that event. I was also at the Easter egg hunt. I don't think I've recovered from that yet, especially the third group that went out there. It's just like I think we just all stood back up against the makeshift fence that we had because, whoa, we could have gotten stampeded. But, I guess we always have these learning experiences, right, Gus? So, and that same evening, I also left right after all the Easter egg hunts occurred, but I also went to the Mariachi El Sol performance that they had at the Southwest Theater, and I just have to say that was really a beautiful event. It was impressive how the talent that this group has, and they come in from LA, and I think they're going to make it a tradition to come out to the Imperial Valley to put on a performance for the almost packed house that they had at the theater. And of course, you know, we've had our ECRMC board meeting, our joint meeting with the other health districts throughout the county. And unfortunately, I was not able to attend the Vietnam Veterans Day event, but I'm sure that our mayor represented all of us well. So that concludes my report.
Wonderful. Just to share many of the same, right, we attended many of the same events. I do have to share real quick about our Easter egg hunt, right? And I get asked, Mayor, would you like to go ahead and stand out there in the field and kind of give the welcome and a countdown? And it sounded like a really good idea until you're standing there and you're literally being stampeded by, you know, 4 and 5-year-olds. And Mrs. Oliva, I appreciate the video because she sent me a video and she was behind me. So you just see the swarm of children and just amazing, right? Kids just having a good time. I think when I arrived and I saw the lines that wrapped around twice of kids that were just waiting to participate in the Easter egg hunt, just validates for me, right, the importance of being able to do community events and how those memories, right, that we're leaving for families are important. And I know we had several of our firemen that were out there with us as well, and I think we were just shocked. I think it was just in that moment of stampede. And not only do we do it once, we did it 3 times. But it was great, and I think what happens is when you have great staff that put on an event, that it seems very effortless, right? Not knowing the amount of hours it takes to plan and execute an event. And so for that, I think all of our staff are putting together such a great event. With that being said, I want to take this opportunity, thank you, Police Chief Sawyer. We had a youth conference at Heber Elementary School District, and we actually had representation on behalf of our El Centro Police Department. We had 2 female police officers, and I will tell you, our 7th and 8th graders were just impressed and asking questions, and it was great. The presence that you have made under your leadership in our community events has been commendable, and I thank you for that, because I know it pulls, you know, resources off the line, but that we've made that commitment to our community, that we're embedded and that they are important, we're important, and community has that opportunity to have that interaction. So I thank you for your leadership. Likewise, Fire Chief Bernal and I went on an ag tour, which was interesting, right? Chief Bernal, we went from being in a lettuce field to standing in front of cattle, going to a hay company, and then going to a bee, right? A bee farm, I guess is what I would call it. It was just a very interesting day. It gave us a great, literally, boots on the ground feel for what happens and what grows here in the industries that are available here in the Imperial Valley. So it was a great morning. It was a great morning to interact with many of our fellow colleagues. So just great work, you guys. I mean, we are out there just really involved in making a difference in our community, and I appreciate that. Real quick, had the opportunity to go to the Autism of Imperial Valley had their pool party, and I will share with you, it was great to see, because last year we had the opportunity to have the sponsorship opportunity for the children that were part of this organization to have swim lessons, and so you could see the children executing their, you know, the swimming skills that they had received, and as always, right, that life skill is truly life-saving, so it was great to see that. The Vietnam Memorial Wall, the Vietnam Memorial that we had specifically for veterans of the Vietnam War is very dear to my heart, because my father is a Vietnam veteran. And I think it was important. I think the message many times Vietnam veterans have received is the sense of feeling unwelcomed when they came back or that they didn't receive that recognition. And so we work really hard to make sure that we convey the respect and the gratitude for their service. I think for myself, that would be the end of my report. Just real quick before I do that, I have to tell you, I am so proud of the great work that we have done with ECRMC. We have gotten in front of it, and from the ashes will rise a phoenix. And we have put in the time and the energy and the effort to get it where it is now, knowing that we were going to go into a situation that was very difficult. We did not cower. If anything, we showed resiliency and tenacity and continue to do that through our leadership. And we will get to one healthcare district. That is our goal, and that's where we're going to be. All right. Interim City Manager.
Madam Mayor, thank you. Definitely, we've come a long ways. 11:30 p.m. meetings, and the first few weeks, actually, of the hospital, I spent a lot of time with Councilmember Oliva. You know, quite a bit of time. It was definitely a abrupt introduction to crisis management. So it goes on my resume for sure.
It's called tough skin.
I think our collective resumes just grew by leaps and bounds during those first few weeks, and they continue to grow. I did have the time twice since our last meeting to spend some time with our library director. I did some onboarding, introducing her to the different departments and staff across the city, and having her see some of our facilities. We stopped by at the Aquatic Center, and as always, it's great to see Roman Platero out there. You know, he's always got a big smile and a big hug. So, you know, I was happy to see him there. I had a little bit of a chance to actually just chit-chat with him a little bit. I did attend the ICTC meeting, as well as the Dinner League of California Cities meeting. That was definitely, you know, the brag session, right? That's always good to see, and it's my first one. So I was kind of concerned that we were going to be a little short, but I think we did pretty good. It was outstanding. A lot of the work that actually all of our department heads do is showcased there among, you know, all the other, you know, councils, as well as, you know, department heads that attended. I know that our police chief was present, as well as our community services, community development director, community services director, as well as Abraham was there too. And in a different, I think, what am I trying to say? Capacity, right? Stacy was there as well. I don't know that I missed anybody, but please forgive me if I did. Easter egg hunt, that was the highlight of my last 2 weeks. Definitely a great time. And I do want to take the time to thank everybody involved. It's a roll call more than anything this time, you know, because it definitely includes the community services staff, you know, somebody that always, you know, is... you know, when we have community events that I'm always tend to gravitate to is Gustavo. You know, he's always, you know, either playing music or doing some AV stuff. And, you know, I tend to talk to him quite a bit. And, you know, he's always got a smile. That's something that I got to say. There was plenty of park stuff, recreation staff. We had the community center represented, obviously, aquatic center. The fire department definitely was there. Our police department and library staff. One of the things was the hay ride, or I don't know what we called it, right? It was the tractor rides around Buckland Park. Those went deep into the evening. You know, you saw the little headlights, and there was a little pilot car in front of it with a little emergency light, you know, just to, you know, tell people to get out of the road or out of the walkways, right? And it seemed like it was actually a lot of fun for those who participated. I didn't get a chance, but I did also participate in National Vietnam Vet Memorial. At that, you know, I had a very special time with one particular vet. His name is Abelardo. He's actually a former city employee. And, you know, it was like the first few words out of his mouth were, I worked for the city for, I forget the number of years, which probably were 30 or so. And, you know, the love that he shared about when he worked for the city, you know. And I've always thought, man, am I overdoing it every time I'm saying like, man, I love working here and it's like the greatest place to work on earth. And he said the same things. I was surprised. He made an impression on me. Definitely, will be something that I'll keep close to my heart. And I'll probably turn into somebody like him when I'm older. I'll be like, hey, I used to work for El Centro. And tell everybody that I worked here and how happy I was actually working here. So anyways, I know it's time to go home. Everybody did an outstanding job. Thank you for everything you guys do. It's appreciated and it's noted. For the citizens, I think we must have had 20,000 people at the park. I don't know, it was maybe more like 5,000. Right? I was a little short. But it was a lot of people. When I showed up, I was surprised. I was happy. I was surprised at the same time. I was kind of concerned as well, because I'm thinking, do we have enough Easter eggs for everybody? So next time we'll probably get 20,000 or something. Anyways, end the report.
All right, great. You know what I thought was so funny is I remember when I saw the flyer and I was like, wow, 10,000 eggs for the Easter egg. I'm like, who's going to put all of those out there? All of us that
It was everybody. Little did we know it was going to be us.
I get it. So I guess when I see the flyer next year and it says 20,000,
25,000.
now I know what that means. I'll close with two real quick things, but very important. National Telecommunication Week, very important for our dispatcher. There'll be a dispatcher. This is internally, of course, but I just want to take this opportunity to thank our dispatchers for the great work that they do in our community. Talk about being resilient, calm, and effective in making sure that the individual on the phone that is probably in one of the worst states, right, of what they're facing, and yet the calming voice and making sure that that help is on the way. So great appreciation to all of our dispatchers, but most importantly right now for our El Centro dispatchers. So great and nice to see that they're going to have a luncheon. And I just have to brag because staff is just so creative. So there is going to be a tea party that's going to take place on May the 6th. And you go and you sign up and you get this beautiful little mirror, and it's a tea party that's taking place. And I know there's been a lot of comments, Adriana, this has been wonderful, and so many little girls are going to be so excited to attend the event. Just the creativity that you have in your staff is just amazing.
If I may, Madam Mayor, the advertisement was so that our youth would feel encouraged to dress up as their favorite princesses or princes, right? So it is certainly going to be a tea party
Yes,
for them to
I
remember,
apologize.
right?
Yes.
To also get into costume.
Yes, absolutely. So bring your tiara. And it's in the purse already, so it's ready to go. All right. So with that,
I think
Can I?
sure.
I'm so sorry, I totally forgot to mention something. I wanted to invite everybody, this Thursday, we are having a Tacos and Taxes event at IVC. We're gonna be co-hosting with Golden State Opportunity, Dreams for Change, IVC, our office, along with the Office of Eduardo Garcia, free taxes for those who qualify and meet within the range. Lots of great resource partners and tacos, free tacos. So if you guys have time to make it out, please do. The event will be Thursday from 9 to 2. Thank you. I'm so sorry, I forgot to mention that earlier.
Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you.
It's like an oxymoron, like tacos and taxes. Delicious to like, oh no. All right, everybody. Time to go home to our families. This meeting is adjourned.